space for conversation around women's health through the lens of naturopathic and Eastern medicine. I am Sandy Ross, and this is Her Earth Medicine Podcast. This podcast is multi-leveled. Episodes for patient education to graduate practitioner level. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you gain value from this episode. Today on the Her Earth Medicine Podcast, we're going to be discussing Feng Shui with Grace, who is an accredited Feng Shui consultant by the International Association of Feng Shui. Grace is a gifted intuitive mentor, teacher, speaker, and business coach who created the heart-centered business Feng Shui Serenity after following her own intuition away from her successful career. Grace is of Chinese heritage background and is passionate about practicing authentic Feng Shui from the source. And since establishing her successful business, the Feng Shui Serenity, over 5 years ago, Grace has been practicing full-time and has consulted with over 500 homes and businesses, often producing astonishing results. Grace helps her clients achieve their dreams by tapping into the heaven and earth energy, bringing health and prosperity to her clients. And today on the podcast, we're going to be chatting a little bit more medical feng shui and how it can help you if you are suffering with illnesses. Also talking about the 2021 Chinese New Year predictions. So let's dive in and chat feng shui. Welcome to the podcast, Grace.
Hello, Sandy.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the Her Earth Medicine Podcast. Grace, this is such an interesting topic we're going to be talking about. So I'd love to hear a little bit about you and how you got involved with Feng Shui.
My relationship with Feng Shui, I think, is really manifested at the different stage in my life. Because of my Chinese heritage or because my Chinese background, and I grew up in China for the first 24 years in my life and then migrate to Australia. So it has really been in my life since I was very young. And my family has always been knowing Feng Shui, not from a very it's part of the wisdoms of, if you'd like, family just passed on. Small things like you can't really eat from a chipped bowl, or you have to get rid of those calories if there is any chip, because the energy is not whole. Simple things like this. Like you will never place your bed with your feet directly aligned with the bedroom door. Just the small things like this. I know lots of them growing up from my mom and, from grandmother and, etc. So Feng Shui certainly is not anything new for me. But I have never anticipated this would become my profession, or now like I'm running my own business as Feng Shui Serenity, as you know. So it's really evolved and changed over years. And I set up my business, I think that 2016, like full-time running my Feng Shui business, which I feel really, really blessed. And I first took up the formal Feng Shui training probably about 15 or 16 years ago, while I was still working in my corporate job. So I have been working in media agency for about more than 15 years.
Wow.
So it was, a
very organic transition into your career from what you've grown up with in your life to, utilizing that in your career. I love it.
Yeah, well, it was such an awakening time for me, and it's a very, very special time, although it was through a not so great personal experience. And the part of the reason from dabbling Feng Shui online, like most people, just Google it and read the Feng Shui books, to really taking up the formal training is really because of the first house I bought with my husband. And just things didn't turn out as we would have, or we would have expected. Our health really deteriorated a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, and also affect, there is a lot of different aspects in terms of family relationship and career choices at the time, and we just didn't feel very supported. And that's really spring me into wanting to know why. I'm a very logical person.
Mm.
So, that my work involves a lot of strategy planning, and it's really like a plan. So really wanting to know what would be the logical reason, and a lot of things is just didn't feel the normal knowledge I know or I hold would have a very clear and explanation on it.
Mm.
Hence, I starting to learn about energy, which is really unseen. I mean, these days when I started or when I start to talk about energies, talk about feng shui, it's really different from like 10 years ago, and people would think this is very woo-woo or
Mm.
this is actually not scientific. But
Mm.
now, like, there is more and more mass people starting to realize all these, how the unseen energy really affecting our life, not only just the physical health, but also mental health and spirituality as well. Because at the time I took I guess, the huge leap of quitting my seemingly glamorous corporate job to dive into this completely unknown business, feng shui. I mean, my mum would think, why would you like feng shui? That's not a career. you know? And it's just as such, for me, it's a spiritual awakening
Mm.
time. It's really, I mean, looking back, I'm so very grateful for that personal experience of a little bit hardship for about 6 years. I mean, now looking back, I'm thinking that was how it opened up my path.
Mm.
But it was a difficult time for me. I guess, every one of us have those dark night of the soul, and that would be mine.
Mm.
But looking back, reflecting on it, it's just, sometimes you need it.
Mm. Okay, well, I would love to have your outlook on what is feng shui, because I feel like you're right. It's definitely becoming more known, but I feel feng shui is going to boom. This year has just definitely taken feng shui to the next level, and I feel like mostly people have heard of what feng shui is now. So could you just tell us what is feng shui?
Well, I think most of your listeners or what you do is in relation to traditional Chinese medicine. So I'm going to explain from that perspective. So what Feng Shui is very unlike a lot of people think. Or even some of the native Chinese would think it's a superstitious. But now I'm looking back, why everything that we kind of obeyed from the generation passed on, those wisdoms, there is an energetic reason behind it. It's just we're not being told why. Now I've learned all this knowledge. Feng Shui is really about understanding or observing the unseen energy or qi. Probably you would understand what qi is to how we can actually harmonize, how we can harness or sometimes manipulate that energy so that we can live in harmony with the external environment. So, coming back to traditional Chinese medicine, if any of your listeners or students or clients have actually had any experience, for example, acupuncture,
Mm.
um, you would know what the acupuncture practitioner do is they will identify where are the stagnant chi or the blockages within your body or within certain organs, so that they can actually use the needles to unblock that chi in order to re-establish the free flow of energy within your body in order to achieve a better health or whatever the health issues you are experiencing. So feng shui is very, very much the same. We use the natural environment, the trees, the rivers, the mountains, the road your property is located in. So we first of all we observe nature. So nature is really our teacher. and we respect the natural law of the universe. And that's what nature is. Nature teaches us why the sun rises from the east and set in the west. And these are the rules you can't change. We need to obey that. We need to respect that. We need to honor that. And by understanding the nature and then including the man made structures, such as our home, such as our property or business premises, how the things actually, the layout, let's say, or the form of the house, the shape of the house or a building, and that has meanings. Your neighborhood, like, if you're looking at what's in front of your house, what's behind your house, and what's on the left and right, there is meanings. And we have we call it the four celestial animals. Some of you, if you know a little bit about Feng Shui, and we call, I won't get into too much technical details, but these are the universal law. There are certain rules you can't break in Feng Shui. And this is where, when the rule is being violated, or there is things being afflicted, and there will be consequences, there will be health issues because the qi is not flowing correctly. Okay, this is where people will notice if they have, or if they newly move into a property, there is things suddenly just gone downhill, and things just happen in quick succession, or their health suddenly, if they have some underlying health issues, suddenly things is just being brought up to the surface. And then there is just, because of or potentially because of the feng shui of the house, is actually bring that to a different level for you to either align it or cure it or remedy it, or you need to re-establish that free flow of qi. So back to your question, Sandy, what feng shui is really about observing, and eventually that will be able to actually manage that qi to achieve that harmony between us and the environment.
I love it. It's like acupuncture for your home.
Absolutely, because I guess from traditional Chinese medicine, it's all about meridians. It's all about the nerve point. And if you're looking at your home, the first thing, I mean, not first thing, but if I look at a property's floor plan, and the first thing I draw is the energetic map. I call it energetic map because that literally is in reflection of where is your liver qi, which section is actually representing your liver and gallbladder. That's the east sector. Where is representing your kidney? That's the north. And where is the head and neck? And that is northwest. So every single sector is in relation to the body organs. It's also in relation to, back to the 5 element. So home, in terms of the 9 different sectors, they belongs to the different element.
Okay, so interesting. I'm very interested in discussing the 5 elements with you because, from a medical perspective, in relation to the human body, I understand. And I also understand them a little bit beyond that with the season and the color association, but no idea around the home and the environment. So could you dive into the 5 element aspect some more, please?
When we look at feng shui, and one of the things we really, especially from the professional, more sophisticated feng shui audit, the first thing we actually do is we use Luopan, or the professional compass, feng shui compass, to measure the facing of your home. And that facing is very, very particular and pedantic, and has to be very accurate down to a degree, or actually point, one digit, decimal point. So it's very, very accurate because we divide why we're saying that your home is essentially is an energetic map. So most people just know it's 45 degrees. It's one sector, like the north, south, west, and east, etc. But in fact, within north, it's also have north 1, 2, 3. So we consider your 360 degrees, and there is 24 different sectors. So if we're coming back to, let's say, 5 element, I mentioned north. North represents the water element. And north also represents the career. And you know that you already know that water element is the in terms of the season is winter from based on the 5 element. So it's the winter of it's a season of winter, and it is representing the water element, but from the major aspect in life, and that really represents a career and income. So when people feeling very stuck in their career, or they find that career is not very they lose that direction, or they wanting to gain some clarity in terms of the career advancement, and the first thing we look at is the north sector. And sometimes this is really becomes quite interesting as I work with 1,000 case with my clients, is you will sometimes also notice that not only it represents in their physical health, it represents in their major aspects such as career and income, but also related back to the emotion of north sector, which is fear, procrastination, and that is the essential attribute of water element. Okay, so water is very in depth. Water is free flowing. Water represents emotions, and this is also comes back to your birth chart. Like this part of my business is to looking at people's life path and or the 4 pillars of destiny, which is very much based on the 5 element. And you will notice that water people, or if their birth chart contains a lot of water element and or strong water element, they have a lot of emotions, especially young water. Young water is being represented by an ocean. So ocean is very calm on the surface, but underneath they have this torrent going on. Sometimes they don't know how to express their emotions, especially when it comes to dealing with fear. So this is where I say sometimes Feng Shui opens the door of your healing. And I do a lot of coaching or guiding people from the spiritual perspective. So we have this good balance in terms of the physical health, but also there is a certain healing or blockages that we wanting to, or usually the people drawn to my energy and my business, they're ready to actually dive a little bit deeper rather than simply just fix the physical symptoms. They want to dig a little bit deeper. Why? How can I support my kidney? Because kidney is in relation to the north sector, right? But deep down, there is a huge, let's say, the wound in terms of fear, in terms of relationship, or fear of being successful. And this probably potentially subconsciously is blocking their career opportunities.
Great. Wow, so interesting.
So that's just a simple example. We're talking about the north sector, and I think that most of your listeners probably know. That's why I dive a little bit deeper in terms of what the north sector in relation to 5 element, what that represents, and how we actually use that as a springboard, I guess, to pierce into that energy pockets. And then so they can actually really fully understand not just only from physical perspective how they can support themselves, but also dive a lot deeper in terms of what am I fear of. So they kind of trace that little thread, and then to really going into a deeper healing.
Okay, so digressing a little bit from the 5 elements, and I'd love to come back to that to talk about the other elements. But when you say north sector, like what are you looking for in that north sector in relation to the water element? Is that like
again, as I explained at the start, we really observe that chi, right? So when, let's say, north, if that is feeling blocked, That we probably first observe. I always say the external environment is really, really important, because if the external environment is the big pool of chi that your property is drawing in is not supportive, then the quality within your house is being affected, right? And this is where the choosing the property is so important. Hence, that I mean, you know, Sandy, that I developed that course called Feng Shui for buyers and renters. But coming back to your question, is we will first of all, let's say the north sector is the bedroom. I would first observe what you can see from the bedroom window. If there is a massive, let's say a big oversized tree, normal tree is okay. If this is an oversized tree very close to your bedroom windows, this bedroom does not receive any sunlight. And or if you have an electric pole on the right outside of your house or this north sector, these what we considered the poison arrow or sha qi. So there are two types of qi in Feng Shui. Sha qi means detrimental qi, non-beneficial. We want the qi to be beneficial and nurturing. Okay? So that's first thing we will look at outside, but then we'll also look inside. Is this bedroom is properly is a bed is properly located? You know, is the bed is placed in a commanding position so that you sleep in a very supportive energy? And then we'll also go into the unseen energy. This is where I need to work out or calculate the energetic map and to see what type of energy you're sleeping in. Or if this is a living room, let's say, if it's so very congested, the chi is not moving or flowing properly. Let's say there is a lot of old junk, or your cupboards is completely just overflowing, but you actually don't really use those clothes or you don't use those items. Or if it is the office, I often see this in my client's case, is you know that they feel their business is just feeling quite stagnant, is no new business coming in, but they, if you go into their office, there is no room for new things to coming in, there is no chi can be allowed to coming in, because it's every single inch has been overflown by the old files, or worse, it's rubbish, you know, or piled up. And this is, of course, there is a misconception of decluttering is feng shui. I guess, you know, that the decluttering, you don't need a feng shui consultant to tell you to do that, that you should do that, because the qi is stagnant. When it is decluttered, I mean, it's cluttered, the qi is stagnant, it's old, it's not nurturing you. And the worst of all is taking up all the space. It's there's no room for new energy to come in. So I think that before you do anything feng shui, just to do a clean or detox of the space, and because that's part of the way we respect our home, we respect that space.
Yeah, great.
Right?
I love that. Can I ask you a question regarding, you were saying with the bedroom, if that's your north sector, and then you have a big tree out the front or a power pole, has that got something, because if north sector is water, in relation to wood and metal with the tree and the power posts?
It can be. It's really good that you think of that. But for most people, all they need to know is because of that big object or a menacing structure is making the quality of the chi not that great, to put it in a very simple way. And we call in feng shui, we call it poison arrow.
Okay.
And just as what it sort of means, it's poison. It's not great. So it's actually turned the chi around there into harmful chi. Okay. But when I'm on site, I'll be able to measure where is the specific location. Let's say if it is a certain degree, when I'm actually looking at the bedroom window, and that tree is in certain degree, I'll be able to calculate whether that is actually classified as a fire object or as an earth object. And I will be able to use 5 elements to deduce what would be the effect.
Wow.
For the occupants. Yeah. So for example, water and fire clash, or let's say if it is earth, let's say it is facing is water, and then you would know that earth controls water, which means this person's career is probably being suppressed by others. There is a senior. So power is really means the boss, your superior, and it means that you're not being supported. Someone is controlling you. That's not good. You want that object to be in the position where that is metal, because metal produces water. Metal is supportive of water.
Okay, I love it. It's like the mother-son theory from the...
Oh, it's totally mother-son.
Yeah.
And if it is a wood element, it means this job is draining you, because the wood is water is supporting the wood, but the wood is taking all the energy.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I have a big tree outside my window, but it doesn't block the window, and there's a lot of natural light that comes in. So I was really interested to ask that question, but it makes so much sense from the 5-element perspective. So thank you for sharing on that. Can we maybe move on to a little bit more about the fire element?
The fire element is in relation to sectors in Feng Shui, is very much in relation to south sector. So south sector is being represented by the fire element, and the south specifically is in relation to fame and reputation. So this sector is really important, especially for those people who are, let's say, works in entertainment industry, or celebrities, or you are working in an industry that your reputation, I mean, every industry is important, but this sector will mostly support you on that. Wow. And I've noticed that, let's say, some of the properties that they have the south sector is missing. And it's very interesting that whatever the occupants do, or how much effort they put it in their career, business, if they're working for someone else, their effort is just not being recognized. So the south sector is really in relation to that recognition and fan base, like a lot of times. And I wonder when you see this person suddenly pop up in Instagram, or there is this so-called overnight success, I wonder what is actually in their cells, like what is actually energy in that particular year or month, or sometimes it's in relation to their birth chart as well. Some people holds that kind of star, and when the time is aligned, when all star is aligned, and then they suddenly just fame just come to them. So it's very, very interesting that when it comes to when we evaluate from Feng Shui perspective, if your south sectors is missing, it's just a very, very hard and to kind of stand out in whatever you're doing. So that's I guess from the fire in terms of the sector perspective, but fire also represent to heart. And you know this from traditional Chinese medicine perspective. It's in relation to heart and nerve system and blood. So you also find that when, let's say, the south sector is missing from the home, the occupants kind of, their heart energy or heart chakra is like they just don't know, like they feel a bit lost. It's, if you look into their heart chakra, it's a bit pale. They're not that compassionate. And fire energy is very, very interesting because it's the energy is radiating out. If you're looking at a young fire or in fire person, that they just effortlessly can attract a lot of people around them. It's like the sun, everyone loves the sun. It's like the moth drawing to the flame. And that's what fire element does. And it has a very radiating, and at the same time, they not only radiating to the 360 degrees, but also goes up. This is where, when in your, let's say, the destiny profiling or birth chart, you're suddenly going through a fire or being influenced by a fire energy, you suddenly have this spiritual or urge of this spiritual pursuit. It's because of fire pushing you up, fire wanting to connect with a higher realm. And yeah, so
wow, that's great. Some of the things that we look at to bring more fire into the home, and I guess it's different too in relation to the sector, but would they be things like candles and the gas stoves, things that obviously have flames?
yeah,
Red,
absolutely.
red coloured things as well, yes?
Yeah, yes. But I would say, yeah, definitely like what you said, open flames, like a fireplace and candles and incense,
Incense.
red,
Ah, cool.
red color, of course, flowers. And if you have a beautiful sales sector, put some flower in there because it will enhance your reputation. And if you are trying or you just establish your business and you want to attract new clients and things like that, decorate that area, because that's what we call the peach blossom, or it's people loves you basically, or you can attract your clients or whoever. Sometimes can be romantic relationship as well, and you just have to make sure that area is beautiful. And it's if you are looking for the romantic relationship, ideally things would be in pairs, not in like singles. Even artworks on the wall as well. So that's another interesting topic, but yeah, that
Wow.
will take another hour to talk about.
Yeah, wow, that's so interesting. Okay, and where does the earth sector sit in the house?
So the earth would be the southwest sector as well as northeast.
Okay, and in relation, has that got to do more with like the mother nurturing aspect of the home?
Yes, yes. So in particular is the southwest. So southwest usually represent or being represented by the dominant female, which is the mother. But at the same time, southwest sector is also very important because it represents the partnership and romantic relationship, marriage, but also business partnership.
Okay. And what are some of the things to utilize more earth in the home? Is that no, plants would be wood, is that right? Earth would
Yeah,
be
plants are wood. Earth, I would say anything with a substance of you use the soil or let's say the pots, some decorations like a terracotta, or those earthy colors as well.
and I think they're very trendy now, aren't they? The terracotta kind of warm neutral colors. It's very
Yeah,
very
yeah.
earthy
It
tones.
does
That
give
makes
you a warm. Yeah, just like a Mother Earth is very supportive. Even light beige, like a beige color or light kind of caramel colors, and these are very nurturing colors. Mountains, for example, if you think of artwork, mountains is always very, very supportive,
Mhm.
and
See that a lot
it's
in
very,
China. Lots of mountains on the wall in China. In all the
yeah, yeah. But choose the mountains that are more um, gentle looking, not fierce looking mountains. And it's very important because, again, everything about Feng Shui is how we observe the qi, because those kind of jarring or kind of looks daggers type of mountain doesn't really feels nurturing, and you don't want that behind your back in your study or in your business. So you want a very solid but gentle, majestic type of mountain.
Okay. What ailments do you correlate with the earth element in feng shui?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Like what illnesses, what kind of,
Oh, illnesses.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. There is a lot of, it's a very interesting question, actually. The earth element is so important within your home because we've noticed a lot of health issues first essential one, because Earth is in relation to the center, to the stomach and spleen, and it's really about the center of your body, right? The stomach and spleen, that's the center, and that's the solar plexus, if you know the chakra systems. But from the Earth perspective, it's really about the digestive system. And Earth is a very interesting element because it's the transitional element between the other four. So if you see the season, look at the Earth season. It doesn't have a specific season, but it's being represented by the in-between season, between the summer and autumn, between the autumn and winter. So Earth has this very powerful presence in a way more so than the other four, is because they actually is the transitional element. So what do we have these days? Modern days experience, like, for example, chronic fatigue. That's the typical Earth imbalanced illnesses. We have even diabetes sometimes can be in relation to the Earth. The unbalanced or the Earth sector within your home is being violated. Arthritis.
Okay, yeah, very similar. I mean, exact same, really, as traditional Chinese medicine in the correlation.
Oh, good.
Okay. Can we? Yes, I mean, it's the digestion. It's probably where I focus a lot of my treatments in the beginning when I see clients, because it's the root of our ability to digest and assimilate and metabolize and make qi and blood and all that. So it's no wonder it's such an important emphasis in Feng Shui to have a really good, environment and setup with your earth element. Makes a lot of sense to me. Can we maybe just briefly touch on the metal element, because then we've sort of had a little chat about all the elements, because I feel
right. Okay. Yeah. Metal is really about, it's interesting you talk about metal last, because we can talk about this year is metal. So this 2020 is the young metal year. So metal in relation to sector, to start with, is the west and northwest sector. So very important, especially if you are thinking of having children. West is very important in terms of fertility. And I often find people who are looking for a home unknowingly about this, they just unconsciously choose the west-facing house because they want to expand their family. And this is where Feng Shui is really interesting, is that the house you're choosing or the facing of the house is really representing the focus for the time you're living in there. And that's why these people choosing the west facing, because it represents creativity and children in Feng Shui.
Oh, wow.
So if people feel a bit stuck, or they feel they have so much to give but they don't know their creative expression, that is also in relation to the West. And so, children is a physical expression of creation, right? But there is also a spiritual expression as well. So northwest is also very, very important. We need to pay special attention and to protect that sector, because it protects the male. So northwest represents the head of the family or male of the family. So this is where you will notice that if a house is missing the northwest sector, or if you bought a house that is no northwest, completely missing, hopefully that you are just happy with being on your own. Or like, if you are looking for, let's say, a husband, or a single female looking for a male partner, it is very, very difficult. I've noticed people moving into a house that is missing northwest sector. Either the relationship breakdown, or the man of the house just doesn't want to be in there.
Okay. What do you mean by missing? So,
this is probably the Feng Shui. You know that some of the L-shaped house, let's say L-shape, is the easiest for you to visualize. Yeah. If you're looking at the floor plan, there is a certain corner is completely just missed out because there is certain extension. They didn't fully extend. They only extend, let's say, just extend on the left hand side. They put a alfresco area or add extra bedroom, and then the other side was completely empty. That means that it's not being contained within that property, and that means that corner is missing. Okay, so when the chi is not contained within the four wall, it's not part of that home. Okay, so that corner is missing.
And so there is the ability to like extend a room or add extra things to try and counteract the stagnation of the energy there, or the missing energy.
Absolutely. Let's hope you're not in apartment, because that will be difficult.
Yeah, okay. Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, if someone is in an apartment, because I'm sure there's going to be listeners from all over the world, and I used to work in Bangkok and many people live in apartments. Are there certain things, and obviously some people cannot change their living circumstances. It just isn't a possibility. So they can always utilize elements of like color and objects and all these sort of things. I guess it won't be as as effective as extending a room and whatnot. But some people, if they can't, they can increase the flow with those certain elements and objects. That's correct, isn't it?
It's a very good question, Sandy. We can certainly use the colors and object to enhance the energy and the flow within. However, I would say if a house, let's say, it's missing a certain corner, that is something you can't just by adding stuff.
Okay.
Unless you actually fulfilled that missing part of the property. So this is why I always say to my clients, or I like to educate people from this perspective, is you need to check your property before you're fully committed, either buy or rent. So these are some of the hard guidelines, because there are certain things you can't remedy.
Wow.
How can you remedy? Yeah, so there's things such as the house is located on a busy road. The chi is very harsh. You can't change the external environment. You can't change the shape of the house. I mean, especially for apartment, you have limited scope. Or you can't really change the kitchen is right in the middle, and that's not a good layout. And these are the things, this was originally the reason I'm kind of putting all this information together to teach people you need to filter and screen the property before you get yourself into, or you fully understand what you're getting yourself into before you buy or rent.
Okay. So I guess that's good to know for people that are potentially moving or looking at buying places and whatnot. But so do you actually see a lot of your clientele coming with health? Because we spoke a little bit before recording, medical feng shui is sort of where we were going to take this podcast. Is that something you attract a lot of? Because you seem to have a very more, I guess, strict and stern, but more traditional approach to the feng shui than, some of the other ladies I've chatted with, which I think might be needed in, I've got patients that are so sick in so many areas, and we're doing all the things, working with the doctors, and things just don't seem to shift. And I kind of like the idea on how firm you are in some ways, because I can be like that with some things in relation to health as well. So is that something you attract a lot? Because I think that's a bit of a niche there too, isn't it? To kind of be able to see outside the body and see where things are going, in relation from the environment in terms of the internal health.
Most of people coming to me are either having health issues or relationship issues.
Okay.
Sometimes, of course, lack of the career directions. Or I always ask, first thing I ask them is, what is your intention for this feng shui audit or feng shui consultation? Because that kind of put us onto a very clear path in terms of what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
And a lot of the most common ones is career fulfillment, or family harmony, or health. And health is so important. And for me, it's always health before wealth, because in a way, health is wealth. Or if you don't have a good health, you can't really even have or achieve. If the wealth is there, you just don't have the energy to do it, right? So it's very, very important to get your health aligned within your home. And this is where, coming back to my personal experience of that first 6 years, what have brought me onto Feng Shui is really about both my husband and I just experienced health issues and sleep disturbance. My husband has always been a light sleeper, but as soon as we move into that house, and then his sleep pattern has just significantly deteriorated. And you know that when a person doesn't really rest well, and then they become just irritable, and the change of personality, I just feel. And then there is a lot of things that happened after that. So important in terms of, and hence I'm like a lot of your client probably tried a lot of things, but not only just the modern technologies or modern medicine can't explain. And even I tried the acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, there are still certain things is not completely shifting. It's because of your home is really someone actually put it like it's your third skin, because you spend so much time in there. And you think there is not a complete contact or connection, but that connection is most intimate, because every day you sleep on that bed, and that energy is accumulating and have an accumulated effect. In fact, one thing that I would like your clients to test, this is a very, very good way to test if your health is, let's say you go away for holidays for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you have this persistent cough, or you have this persistent kind of back pain, and somehow you're going away for holidays and the condition has improved, and you think that's because of the holiday, but it's because of the house. You have been away from that influence 24/7, and you have given your body a break of recovering from that constant negative or harmful energy posing towards your body. So that's something.
Yeah, and I mean, as a naturopath, we look at a lot of things in the house, like mold and whatnot as well. And I'm actually interviewing a naturopath who is now a building biologist, and she's amazing when it comes to, dirty electricity and radiation exposure. I think you two would make an ultimate pair with treating people in their homes.
We usually do. I usually refer, for the study I did, and I work with a lot of building biology as well, biologists as well, and I have a meter. I actually do the very first screen if I know the reading is actually really high, because, for example, some of the bedroom we mentioned, if your bedroom has there is a massive kind of electrical pole outside your bedroom, my meter will be able to detect. But the meter I use is probably not as sophisticated as a building biologist, but it will show me red or orange. If it is reaching red light, I would refer you to a building biologist to get fully tested. So we do work really closely together.
Definitely the ultimate team. Okay, so interesting. You've given us some great information there on the 5 elements and our home, and just so much. Thank you. I was wondering, can we maybe transition into the discussion around the 2021 predictions?
Right. Okay.
Do you want to maybe a background about what they mean? What is a prediction, and what you'll be talking about for people that have no clue?
I guess I have always been, since I started my business, I have been getting into the habit of providing the monthly, and if it is we turning into a new year, I provide the energy forecast for all my clients and communities. Just a little bit heads up from energy perspective. So this kind of prediction is purely from the five element perspective, because elements are never wrong, and it doesn't have the egoic mind, and it doesn't really dictate you to anything that you think or you imagine. So I love this part of my job, is to get down and dirty into the element, to look at what is this year is herald for us. For example, 2020 is, as we mentioned before, is a young metal year sitting on rat. So you will already know, or the first picture I provided for my clients was this big piece of heavy metal sitting on water. So what does that give you? Very unstable. Water is the movement, is representing movement. So water flow. And between the relationship in terms of metal and water means this water is also very strong. It's being supported by the metal. Metal will continue to produce water, and this water will become a tsunami. Wherever it takes us, it's unknown. And that's exactly what happened in 2020. Coronavirus is just a small part of it, but many people are starting to re-evaluate their life situations, their living situations, their work situations. It's really about something we learn to deal with, the unpredictable, unknown part of this. And collectively, the energy is definitely rising. And water is also contains a deep wisdom. So this year, regardless how challenging it has been, it really gives us a lot of, or many of us kind of learned a lot of lessons. And many things has been revealed to us as well, because of the current situation. So now moving on to 2021, I would say it's definitely a better year, because we have 2021 is a year of the ox. So ox is being represented by the earth energy, yin earth energy, and the element on top is the yin metal. So yin metal comparing to the yang metal is relatively soft and gentle. So it's not going to be that harsh. And you also have this harmonious relationship between metal and earth, because metal is being supported by the earth. This earth is underneath. So you have a little bit, if last year you completely lose your footing, this year you'll be able to find your ground. Okay, so although when we actually look deeper into each element, this in earth is not that solid earth, because this in earth, I don't know if you know this, Sandy, when you learn the elements, and when we're looking at each element, such as in earth, it actually has 3 hidden elements within its belly. So this earth also contains water within. So we will consider this a soft earth, or a little bit muddy earth. It's not a full, like a young earth or like a dragon. It's a very solid earth. It contains fire. So when the fire comes, this earth becomes quite strong, quite solid. But this is a very soft earth because it contains water underneath. So things can be still a bit muddy. Things can still be I guess, whichever way, it really depends on each person's, of course, your personal charts as well, how things pans out for you. But relatively, you will starting to see, we have been floating on the sea, we're starting to see the land, but you're not on solid ground yet. Okay, so still tread carefully, because this muddy water sometimes can be unstable as well. So you don't want to slip. And the in metal, from the in metal perspective, in metal is a very, very beautiful piece of jewelry. So what does this mean is there will be a lot of seemingly beautiful pictures, or entertainment industry, let's say, can do quite well. But this in metal also is being represented by knife or by a little dagger, because it's metal. And what happened is, usually in yin metal year, there will be some kind of assassinations, because it's a knife, right? So there could be incidents or injuries, and depends on, I mean, on world stage, you will still see there's kind of those power, kind of a dynamic as well. Also from the element perspective, because of the yin earth is not very solid, we might also see some of the earth disasters such as landslide or earthquake. And yeah, so these are the things that I will have a very comprehensive kind of forecast write out just before the end of the year. And this completely free. It's always on my website, and people who subscribe will probably get a bit more information. But yeah, it's obviously, that I want to guide people in terms of what type of energy is upcoming in the next year. What else I can tell you? And so in terms of the economy, and obviously we are really towards the end of this year, which is right in the deep depth of the water energy, right? You will understand from 5-element perspective, it's winter and it's lots of fear. Consumer confidence is not that great. So a lot of people worry about next year, particularly in Australia, all these schemes like that stimulus schemes will end. So the economic outlook will still be a little bit bleak. Next year we'll be completely recovering, and we won't be able to see this completely on track probably for another couple of years. Why? Because of like we talked about fire element before. You need a fire element to be in presence in the year energy to boost economy. So looking ahead, we won't have the fire or strong fire presence until 2025.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so from the stock market perspective, economy perspective, and this is still going to be continuing. It's going to be a slow kind of recovery road, I think. But of course, this also depends on each individual. And some people, I mean, even in 2020, I know some people are doing really well.
Yeah.
It's because of their chart. Let's say if your chart have a lot of fire, you can do really well during a water strong year. And 2020 is a very, very strong water year. Or if water is very favorable for you, for some metal, like, let's say in metal or young metal, water can be very, very beneficial because water polish the metal so they can shine, right? And these are about understanding the 5 element. So, and this is really for me to do the, I guess the charts reading is not about me giving you a psychic reading. It's really about understanding who you are as what is your essence at birth. That's what I call it. What is your self element? Is it water or fire? Or is this metal or earth? Like, there is a certain attributes. It's part of your DNA. It's better to know it rather than flying blind. So this is where a lot of guidance and insights in terms of how you navigate your life path comes within the chart reading session.
Okay, so interesting. I don't know if I've done my Chinese astrological chart. I've definitely done my Western astrological chart, and I have no fire in my chart. There's a lot of earth.
It's different from your Western.
Okay, cool.
But you can actually do just to go onto my site and put in your date of birth, and you'll be able to. I will send you the Chinese chart. That's free.
Okay.
I won't be able to explain what that means, but you'll be able to see what is your self element is. Are you going through what is kind of or at what age you're changing 10-year or 5-year luck pillar? I'll be able to provide you that. So it's completely free.
Great, thank you. So, I mean, the predictions are definitely an aspect of the feng shui, but I think it's definitely not something that's spoken about with traditional feng shui. People are thinking about, decor in their homes and colors and whatnot. So I think it's really nice to hear about including the charts and, what's happening in the predictions, for next year in terms of the 5 elements, the astrological charts. It really does encompass how holistic feng shui is and how big it can make it and really the impact it can have on so many aspects in our life.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the feng shui I practice is what I call the classical feng shui. And that's what I would say that's traditional feng shui. For other things you will look for, because of I'm Chinese heritage and I really wanting to honor and respect that part of my heritage. And I learn my feng shui from the source. I go to the credible the masters or the resources in order to gain my knowledge. So I think there is a lot of new age feng shui there, and the feng shui your wallet or feng shui this and feng shui that, using colors, and these are nice to have, but they are not the fundamentals. They are not the ones actually affecting that much in terms of your energetic map within your home. So I think it's really nice to have a lot of people starting to understand and aware of feng shui, but just to be aware there is a lot of general information out there, and it really needs to be personalized. Feng shui is very scientific. As I mentioned to you, the 1 degree facing would make a huge difference. And it is not about your wealth corner is in diagonal from your front door. That's just completely westernized feng shui, we call, or internet feng shui.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the feng shui I know. Okay, Grace, thank you so much. You've given us, like a very different perspective to the feng shui, like the internet feng shui you just mentioned. If our listeners are wanting to find you, you've got a few online courses. I know you've released your renovators and rental feng shui course, but do you do, the private chart readings? Obviously, you're located in Brisbane. How can our listeners contact you and get a hold of some of this information?
I locate in Sydney, Sandy.
Oh, Sydney. Sorry.
And my course is called Feng Shui for Buyers and Renters. So it's not about renovation. However, I do a yearly event, like a live event. So if people in Sydney or surroundings, it's a great opportunity. I usually do it at the start of the year. But with my client, I do a lot of distant, either the sessions with people just on Zoom to do the chart reading, and I call that is destiny profiling.
Mhm.
And feng shui alignment also these days, I guess COVID is just completely changing. I mean, I do have a lot of international and interstate client anyway, but this is just completely open the floodgate. So, and I can assure, there is, of course, that if you are in Sydney, I'll be able to do it on site. But if you are, your listeners are in interstate or overseas, I have a lot of clients in states, and that with Google Earth these days, and we do Skype, we do Zoom session, they'll be able to show me just live as well. And you can find all this information on my website, and I'm sure Sandy, you're included in the show notes, so I won't really say that. But there is a lot of, sorry, there is a free resource library on my website. So people who are interested in feng shui, before you really dive into, I guess, the deep end to engage my service, I really encourage you just to get there is a lot of free information you can download just to learn yourself and then see if that is for you or not, because that's important. That's important to understand the energy from that perspective. So, and I always say to people, it's all divine timing. When the time is right, you will know.
Absolutely. definitely. I so agree. But I think the medical aspect behind it is so interesting and so fascinating, and definitely a missing piece to people's health journeys. So thank
Yeah,
you again.
yeah. I love to do that part. It's for me, it's really like a diagnose each case to
Mm,
find out what is the root cause of certain people's illnesses. It's just so interesting, including kids. There are
yeah.
some kids, they they wet the bed all the time.
Mm,
And then we find out it's because of the location of the fireplace. It's just amazing. Some of these incidents, it's just because of it's located at wrong time. I mean, the wrong part of the house.
mm. So
Yeah.
fascinating.
If we have enough time, I can share some live cases, but maybe another time.
Grace, thank you so much for dedicating this hour or so. I'm not even sure how long we've spent chatting though, but thank you once again for all your insight and your knowledge. And I'll be sure to put all your links in the show notes.
No problem. Pleasure.
It's been
Thank
lovely
you so much
chatting
for
with you.
inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. I have been a practitioner of naturopathic and Chinese medicine for over a decade. I have a master's degree of health science and I am an academic lecturer at Australia's leading natural medicine college. I am available worldwide online for bookings. Simply go to sandyrosshealth.com.